Welcome back, folks, where it's time to welcome back into the Splashy Paint studio SAA professional artist Mike Skidmore as he demonstrates his simple rule of thumb technique for helping you paint straight lines, highlights and wonderful wood grain effects. Enjoy.
Hello. Painting portraits is often about anything but painting portraits, because invariably what we do is we put people in a setting, on a chair, against a window, next to a door, all sorts of different things that are in contrast to the softness and the roundness of the portrait. In other words, lots of hard lines. Whenever that happens, we're faced with the dilemma of how do we get that sense of reality into the picture and make sure that we hit the highlights, particularly along straight edges, in a way that's in keeping with the rest of the painting. Well, I want to show you how I do that, and this is a neat little trick, but it does take some practice. So, what I've got over here is a metal ruler. Metal are ideal, plastic ones tend to bend and buckle a little bit, and this one's only about 1 inch wide, again perfect, unless you've got hands like shovels, in which case you need a bit of a wider ruler. I've got a sable brush, a number 2 here, and I've got a little bit of yellow ochre and a little bit of white mixed together to put a highlight onto this, which is really just meant to be either a picture frame or a window frame, something kind of structure that's got the straight edges on it, that I want to put a few highlights along the edge, and I'm going to show you how I actually do that. Now, it's really important that the paint is wet, because if it's too dry, the brush will kind of stutter as it goes along, whereas if it's nice and wet, you can get a good line. So I'm going to dress myself. First of all, I'm going to put the ruler on. I've got 4 fingers. I nearly said 5 fingers then. I've got 4 fingers on one side and my thumb on the other. And I'm going to use my thumb to push the ruler onto my fingers. So now the ruler is nice and firm. And I'm running it parallel to where I want to put the highlight. And then I use my second finger to hold the brush in place onto the ruler and just pull the line along like that. And I will get a perfect line. Now I'm going to add a little bit more white to that. I never ever try to do this and get the right colour first time. I prefer to build it up, go over the line a few times, because the last thing I want to do with this is to end up putting too bright a line on, because that's quite a pain to remove. And go back again, hold the ruler in place like that, second finger onto the brush and the ruler, and I can go along again to produce a nice line like that. And then if I want to put a nice highlight onto that, I'll just do it with a little round spot. And I always make the spot wider than the line I'm putting it onto, as if the light has flared. I can just use my ruler again just to create that sense of a nice highlight in the corner. Now, the other thing we can do with this is we can, let's say for example, we wanted to turn this into a bit of wood grain. Then all we have to do is grab a bit of medium, grab a little bit of, in this case I've got burnt umber and a little bit of yellow ochre. Not too strong, nice and wet. And I could go along here and create, I can wobble my finger like that to create little knots in the wood. I can create little stops, little starts, jaggedy bits, all sorts of little different types of movement just by getting to grips with what I'm putting onto the edge of the ruler. And I can make a knot there if I want to, and just pop in a little bit of darker wood. So that's the way you do it. You can do perfect lines if you practice, provided you really press that thumb hard onto the ruler and jam it against the fingers. And you must use this finger to hold the brush in place. And then when you drag it along, it's the ruler that's making the brush go straight. You get a beautiful line. You can waver that line if you want to create effects, or you can have a straight line and a highlight. But just remember, if you're going to put your lighter lines and highlights on, don't try to do it all in one go. Do it in a series of steps, because you're much more likely to hit the perfect colour that you're looking for. Thank you.
Today I'm going to paint a sunset. The sun's setting over some water, the sea, and I'm going to get the sinking sun to remain as light as possible and capture those really nice colours. I'm going to use quinacridone gold, and I'm going to start right at the top and do big swathes of this gorgeous bright colour, which is about my favourite colour. So bright and vibrant, such a cheerful colour. Big sweeps of this coming over the sky. So I'm going to soften it a little bit as it comes down here, collecting those beads and moving them a little bit further down. Then I'm going to go into a stronger mix. This time I've got quinacridone gold mixed with permanent rose. This time it's going to be just a little bit stronger and warmer to start suggesting that sun setting over the water. Trying to leave a few white areas to help suggest clouds and gentle areas around the sun. I've used a wax candle just to preserve the top of the sun, because I'm just an absolute master at losing the sun after I've preserved it carefully, and then do a great big sweep right across and just absolutely lose it. So trying to be a little bit careful and hanging on to it. I'm going to just duck down a little bit and see where I've put that wax. That's the only problem with it, is you can't see where you've put it once it's on the paper. Going back into the mix of the stronger colour, little marks just to suggest those gorgeous clouds and reflection in the water and from the water and the sun setting. Cleaning my brush, getting a little more of the quinacridone gold, pop it in there, and around the sun. And the sun's not quite gone down yet, so I can actually paint around it, which is quite useful. I'll sweep that across. I've got a slightly irregular shape to my sun at the moment, so go back in with your rigger, which you've got a little more control, and put some more of those gorgeous clouds in. And try and get the right shape for your sun. A few more of the darker marks. Dance around with your brush a little bit to get the nice shape that you're looking for. This one's a little bit dry over here, so I've cleaned my brush, taken off a lot of the moisture and going around it so it gets a softer effect. I'm just going to pull that one across just a little bit more. Right, before I paint the sea, I'm going to encourage the quinacridone gold underneath the sun to come down just a little bit further. Clean my brush, and I've got a mix of a dark bluey grey colour, which I'm now going to wash across to suggest the sea underneath. I'm going to come down a little bit lower to start with. As it's already wet, we all know that with watercolours the pigments will bleed. So it's quite a deep colour at the moment, big washes across. But if you leave some white areas, that's fine because it is water. There will be some ripples. I'm going to use my rigger and come across there, getting a slightly straight line. Not very good at straight lines. And hold my breath. And that way you have a lovely glow from the sun into the water. Let's suggest a little bit more of the quinacridone gold there. Do a quick mopping up job. It's dribbling away. And a tiny little dribble there. Can't have that. And that's my setting sun over Cornwall. Hope you've enjoyed it. See you soon.
Well, folks, before we wrap things up for today's programme, we've just got time to answer one more of the viewers' questions that have been sent into the Splashy Paint studio. And remember, if you'd like to ask us a question, you can always email us at splashypaint@saa.co.uk or visit the SAA website, saa.co.uk, for details of how you can interact with one of the largest online art communities available to help and develop your creative passion. Okay, let's take a closer look at today's question. Anne-Louise Goodwin says, I've just started painting and some people at my art group were talking about it being illegal to copy other people's work, but I like to learn from others, especially on this very programme. Can you let me know if I'm allowed to do this or not? Of course you're allowed. Your group is talking about copyright law. Basically, you're not allowed to sell this work. However, demonstrating and teaching artists usually teach with a step-by-step method, and for a beginner, it's a great way to learn the basics. Live art shows such as It's All About Art, run by the SAA, always have a whole host of artists teaching groups, all to paint exactly the same painting at the exact same time. This is a great way to try out new mediums and techniques. Obviously, as you develop your skills and find your style, you can move away from this, but for now, carry on enjoying and copying. Well, folks, that's all we've got time for today. We hope you've enjoyed getting closer to some of your favourite TV artists and that we've encouraged you to try something new. Join us next time when versatile SAA professional artist Keith Fennick takes us down by the riverside. We throw the spotlight on up-and-coming SAA artist Jan Gardner. Marion Dutton returns to demonstrate how to add some life to a blank canvas. And I'll be sharing a few more of my own top tips and techniques in part 1 of our new Trees Through the Seasons feature. See you soon for another colourful edition of A Splash of Paint.
If you'd like to receive a regular splash of paint, sign up to the SAA's free e-newsletter. Visit www.saa.co.uk. We'll make sure you get all the latest news, exclusive offers and events delivered direct to your desktop.